Hey guys, we're back working on the Flathead Ford V8 out of my 1950 custom Ford Coupe parts car. In the last video, we started stripping some stuff down, found a bunch of mouse house, and kind of hit a dead end where we started trying to get connecting rods disconnected. Well, let's pick up where we left off and see if we can get a crankshaft out of this thing today. And maybe we can start doing a little tappy tap on some of those pistons. Thanks for watching. I think where we're going to start today is get some exhaust off of here. We leave this crossover tube attached to the manifolds, but we'll get the bolts out of the manifolds. Kind of an interesting thing. The front two bolts on each side are larger than the middle and the rear. I don't get that. Don't know why they do it that way, but they do. After that, we'll go after the oil pump, see if we can get that to come out, and then start stripping some main caps and rod caps off of here. Let me put you on a stand, we'll do a little time lapse, and I'll get some of this stuff taken care of. Not surprising, the oil pump doesn't want to come out of there. I'm sure we can get it out. We just have to keep working at it a little harder. Now, I was under the impression that this engine likely hadn't been apart. My reasoning for that was that there doesn't appear to be an overbore on any of the pistons. However, we have here, I don't know whether you guys can see it or not, a stamping that tells us that that is the number 6 piston. But over here, we don't have a number 4. Nothing on that one. But usually they're only on one side, so everything will be stamped on this side of the connecting rods. The fact that we do have our one numbered connecting rod indicates to me that this has been apart to some degree at some point. That's not real surprising. Lots of miles on this car, and these engines didn't last forever. I would find it even more unusual if it hadn't been rebuilt at some point. I'm going to clean up around these main bearing caps a little bit to see if there's any markings on them. If not, we'll put a 1 on this, a 2 on this. 3's obvious because it's got the thrust bearing and the oil slinger and all that stuff. It's quite a bit bigger, but 1 and 2 we like to keep straight. 1's got this little bullet nose thing sticking off the bottom, and 2 doesn't have anything. So that would be a good indication. Now let me get those scraped down. I'm going to try and take off a few more rod cap bolts while I'm working at it, and I'll bring you guys back when I have another update. Put the front 2 caps loose. Kind of got some rust in there, but I think that's not looking too bad. This one. Sticky, but I don't think that looks too bad. I've also disconnected a bunch of the rod cap nuts that we can get at. The front 2, a couple more. Let me put you on a stand. I'll grab a pry bar and we'll see if we can kind of get that crankshaft to move at all. This back main cap is still stuck in place, and I don't want to beat on it too hard because you can crack them. But if we can get the crankshaft to move at all, a little bit of flex here should pop that main cap off. Feels like some flex, but not a whole lot. We want to be careful that we don't break a tooth off of the front timing gear here. But that does not seem to want to move very far. Let's give a few taps on these. Actually, before we do that, let's get stamping on all of the rod caps that we can see so that we know where they go. Because the rods don't look like they're in that bad a shape. They got some surface rust on them, but no major corrosion. I think I got a set of number stamps here someplace. That would be a 5. There we go. That's got a 5 stamped. 6, 7, have we got anything? No, we don't. And 8, can't really get in there with the wire brush. We'll try doing a little more tapping on these rod caps and see if we can get them to move. There we go, number 7. Oh, there we go. And that looks really good, but that's because there's no bearing on there. The bearing stayed on the crank journal. Let's see if we can convince it to pop out of there. Oh yeah. Bit of rust. I'm guessing that's why it won't turn if they're all like that. We can make that work. That piston does not seem to want to move. But you get the idea. Basically, I am going to have to continue working at this, tapping those rod caps off one at a time. Eventually we'll get most of them off, and then we'll be able to adjust the crankshaft a little bit and get the remaining ones that are down too low in the block to be able to get a wrench on them. I'm not going to make you watch all of that. I will bring you back when we are ready to proceed with the disassembly here. Or if I find something else that's interesting to show you. Well guys, it is getting late. I think I'm going to shut it down for the evening here. We're making some progress. We've got all but one of the connecting rod cap nuts are out of there. Haven't got any more caps off, but at least we've got the cap nuts removed. We've got the 3 main bearings. Bolts are out. The rear cap is still stuck on there, but that's not unusual for these engines. I've had that happen a couple times. And we're still kind of stuck in place, not turning. So there's lots more work to do. We'll be back at it again tomorrow evening. We'll see how much more progress we can make. Until then, hey guys, it is the next day. Back out working on the Flathead Ford V8. I managed to convince that rear main bearing cap to pop off of there. The bearing is still stuck to the crank, but at least the cap's off. That's a step in the right direction. We've still got one nut to take out of to get it so that all of our rod caps are loose, and we've got a whole bunch of rod caps that need to come out of there. Let me put you on a stand, and I will do a little bit of poking and prodding at this crankshaft with that final main bearing cap popped off of there. We might actually be able to get a little bit of movement. And the goal here is to get just enough that we can start getting some more of these caps off, get this nut up so we can get at it, get some more caps off, and just kind of get the crank to rock back and forth out of its main bearing saddles. And hopefully we'll be able to convince everything to come off of this, and we can finally get this crankshaft out of here. Then we can get a good look at what's underneath it. And I don't think we're going to like what we find. Just kind of looking down between things, it looks pretty grungy in there. Let me get you on a stand, do a little time lapse here, and see if I can get some more stuff torn apart. Well guys, we're making some progress here. We've got 4 connecting rods are completely, caps are off. We've got all 3 main bearings are exposed, and we've got the rest of the nuts are loose on these front rod caps. They're being a bit stubborn about coming out of there, but I'll get them. I'm not too worried about that. Worst case, we can fire up the oxyacetylene and put some real good heat into them. When I'm doing a rebuild on this, I might end up putting new ones in anyways. I don't know, haven't decided yet. These are a little bit corroded, but we'll see. If I have to hit them with too much heat, then we'll replace them. The crankshaft is still stuck in there pretty good. I put the big pry bar on the flywheel, and it moves a little bit at the back, but it's still pretty stuck. The wrist pins in these pistons might also be a little bit sticky, and that could be causing some of our issues, but I don't know, they don't look too bad in under there. I'm going to keep tapping away here on these front 4 rod caps. You've seen kind of my process. Tap at them with a punch, get them moving, and then get them to pop off. Put a little heat in, put a little bit of lube in, and eventually they'll come loose. I'll bring you guys back when I can get the rest of these 4 off, or if something else interesting pops up, and then we can lift this crank out of here, or hopefully lift it out. Maybe it's welded itself into the block. I don't think so though. Looking at everything else, doesn't look like we're in too bad a shape. Well guys, I figured I'd bring you back. We're starting to get a little bit of movement in the back end here. The big chisel, and we wedge that into the flywheel, the ring gear, and I'm able to get a little bit of movement out of that crank. The back is starting to lift. These connecting rods, I don't know whether you'll be able to detect that or not, but I can't even detect it. But I was getting a little bit of movement in the connecting rods back here, so that's a good sign. And we're even getting a little bit of movement at the front. Kind of the trick to this is to get a little bit of movement started. Once you get some movement started, it's just a matter of working it back and forth, and eventually it should pop up there. Almost able to get that nut off. Boy, that'd be nice if those would release and pop off of there. Let's give it a talking to with the not messing around torch. There we go, that's moving. Now we need to get the other side. Ah, there we go. I'm not in a real big hurry to grab onto that, because it is going to be a little on the toasty side. But we are loose. Well, all of the rod caps are off. These front 4 put up a fight. All the main caps are off. This back one put up a fight, but we got it. Now, let's see if we can convince this rusty old crankshaft to come out of here. Ooh. I would say we're loose. Now, can I lift this without killing my back? Or my wrist. It's going to need some cleanup, but... And it'll need a polish. It's definitely not going to go back in the condition it's in. We're almost out. Just 2 more rods, and both those are loose. Hopefully, kind of sort of something like that there. Well, it is pretty grungy in there, but you know, all of the this one's just a little bit stiff, but all of these connecting rods are loose. That's a good sign. That would appear to be a main bearing that's gone down the back side there. That's not a problem. I think we'll see if put a wrench on this and see if we can convince it to start wiggling a little bit. As I say, if we get a bit of movement in it, generally we can get it apart. And then we will flip this thing back over. We'll have to collect that oil so it doesn't end up all over the floor. And then I think we're going to put a little bit of Coke down in those cylinders and see if we can convince some pistons to move. I am running out of time today. I got to start editing video before too much longer. But I think we can probably get some pistons out of this thing. See what kind of shape things are in. Worst case, like I did on that block, you can take a punch and basically break the pistons into pieces and take them out in chunks. But I would prefer not to do that if we can convince them to move. It's much easier on the arms and much easier on the block. Let me put you on a stand. We'll see if this thing's going to cooperate to come out of there. And then we can start thinking about rolling it over. The camera kicked out on me, so I'm not sure what you guys saw of me getting that oil pump out, but I did manage to get it out. A little bit of heat. We've got the block rolled over, and I've got Coca-Cola in the cylinders. Apparently, Coke makes a really good rust converter. It contains a bunch of phosphoric acid, which is one of the better rust converters, I guess. I've never tried, but supposedly you can dissolve nails in Coke. Now this has been kicking around, frozen many times in the out in the garage here, because I don't drink sugared Coke. So this Coke is left over from last year, but hopefully it's doing something. It's been sitting here for about an hour while the battery's been recharging in the camera. And I think what I'm going to do is take some paper towel, see if I can maybe sop some of this up, and we'll give these pistons a little tap with that pipe setup that I have. And we'll see if we can convince them to move a bit. What do you figure? Are they going to cooperate? Don't think that's moving. Or maybe it is. Yeah, we're down about 3/8 of an inch. Okay, what I'm thinking we're going to do here, we'll take this down a little bit further so that we can get at the where the rings were sitting with the hone. We'll give it a little cleanup and then we'll try and push it up from the bottom. That's a bit more of a challenge. And one problem with this back cylinder is it's too close to the back of the block. We can't take the piston out through the bottom. Some of these pistons we can drive out through the bottom. I think maybe this number 5 we can just drive out. You won't have to worry about trying to bring it back up through the roughness. That has worse the roughness taken out of that wall. Hopefully we can get that piston to come back up. Let me rinse and repeat. This one will be easy. As I say, I think this one can go down through. Number 5 cannot go through. I learned that previously. It looks like I can, but it can't quite. So we'll have to do the same thing, send it down a little bit and then bring it back up. Let me keep working on that. I'll bring you guys back when I'm ready to try and roll this thing over and push these pistons back out. Well, that is number 5. And you can see this thing would have been in pretty tough shape even prior to its getting parked. There's absolutely no way that we would be able to get that fired back up and running with those pistons. Doesn't mean that we can't get some new pistons and get this thing cleaned up. That cylinder is pretty disgusting. This one's not the greatest either, but I'm already down through the block. I don't want to go any deeper with this, so I'll try and clean this up and then bring these other 3 back up through. Interesting that that looks as rough as it does. Well, let me get this cleaned up and then we'll try and roll it over. Only number 4 was willing to come out of there without hitting. We've got 1 is just barely catching. Or actually, I guess that's 5 is just barely catching. 6 and 3 are interfering really bad. And I think we're going to have to break those apart. I guess I'll put you guys on a stand and let you watch the carnage. Everybody likes a little bit of carnage. Well, that didn't take too much time or too much effort. Those broke out of there fairly easily. Have to remember that trick for next time. Because I'm sure this is not going to be the last stuck flathead that we ever have to extract pistons from. Cylinders don't look too bad. They're worn, they got a good ring ridge, so definitely this thing's going to need to be overbored, and you can overbore flatheads to 125 thou. So I haven't put a caliper on this to know what bore it is yet. I don't think it's been bored out too far, maybe 30. There were no markings on the tops of the pistons indicating an overbore, so who knows, maybe they're factory size. I don't know. The next trick is going to be extracting a camshaft, and that is going to be a trick. We may have to take it out in pieces, as you see I have done in the past. because I have a sneaking suspicion those valves are not going to be very cooperative. But that is a topic for another video. Thanks a lot for stopping by. Greatly appreciate you taking the time to watch. If you got this far, give me a thumb up. We've got a celebration. Give me a like. We've got all 8 pistons out of this thing and the crankshaft. If you haven't already done so, consider subscribing to the channel. Love to have you come back. I always got interesting little projects like this on the go. We're going to be getting back onto this beast in the not too distant future. If you want to get notified when I post new content, you can ring that bell icon. And we'll catch you guys in the next mess. Thanks a lot for watching.